Hi there, Mr. Holcomb here with another episode of The Math Behind the Modules. This is Lesson 11, Absolute Value, Magnitude, and Distance. Okay, so classwork opening exercise. Here we go, let's jump right in. For this warm-up exercise, students were to work individually to record two different rational numbers that are the same distance from zero. Students find as many examples as possible and reach a conclusion about what must be true for every pair of numbers that lie that same distance from zero. So I'm going to color code these. I'm going to start with red. And if I chose 1, that is a distance of 1 this way. Okay? And we also want to find the same distance from 0. Well, if I go this distance from 0, now if I move, okay, let me start this over. If I draw now a distance from here to here, that's a distance of 1. So if I move this distance marker over like this, how far am I from 0 here? Same distance, 1. So 1 is 1 unit from 0 to the right. Negative 1 is 1 unit from 0 to the left. So now let's try another one. Let's just pick 6. Okay. So now, if I draw a marker from 0 that measures out to 6, a line segment from 0 to 6, that is a distance of 6. And if I now move that distance of 6 over this way and put that other end at 0, and now I have the other end of this segment at negative 6. So this distance from negative 6 to 0 is equal to 0 to positive 6. Okay, and I could keep going and going and going, and I could choose 9. But if I choose 9, I've got to choose negative 9, and so on. So we're talking about distance from 0, which is actually absolute value. Okay, so the absolute value of 10 is written as 10 with these two straight lines next to it. You have to be really careful how you write this. So if I did this, that looks like 1,101. Okay, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is make these a little bit longer, and then put 10 in there, and then make that a little bit longer. That is the absolute value of 10. So on the number line, count the number of units from 10 to 0. How many units is 10 from 0? So what they're saying is we start here at 10 and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm 10 units from 0. Okay? So the absolute value of 10 is the distance from 0, which is 10. What other number has an absolute value of 10? Well, here's 0. If I can go to the right 10, I can also go to the left 10. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, now I'm here. This distance is also 10, so negative 10. And if I take the absolute value of negative 10, that simply means how far is negative 10 from 0? The answer is also 10. So the absolute value of a number is the distance between the number and 0 on the number line. A lot of people get confused and think that all you do is take the opposite, because the absolute value of negative 10 is 10. But we don't say the absolute value of 10 is negative 10. It's also positive 10. So absolute values always give you a positive result. Okay, exercise 1 through 3. Complete the following chart. You're given a number. They're asking for you to write it in absolute value form. Graph the number on the number line diagram, and different number with the same absolute value. So try this, come back, and see how you do. Okay, so here we go. So what I want to do in the absolute value part is say the absolute value of negative 6 equals 6. The absolute value of 8 equals 8. The absolute value of negative 1 equals 1. And in order to graph negative 6, it is right here. Okay? and I know that the distance from here to here is 6. Okay. I want to graph 8 on the number line. 8 is over here. 0 is right here. So the distance from 0 to 8 is right there. And then finally I want to graph negative 1. Negative 1 is right here. The distance from negative 1 to 0 is there. Okay. Now it says different number with the same absolute value. In other words, a different number that's the same distance from 0. So now if I take this over here, I end up at 6. Okay, so I ended up right here. So the answer is 6. Another number that is 8 units from 0 would be 8 units to the left. Okay, which is right here. So the answer is negative 8. And finally, the same distance from 0 to negative 1, if I move this distance over 1 unit to 0, I am now at 1, and therefore the other number is 1. So notice what happened here. Negative 6, the other number that has an absolute value of 6 is 6. The other one, 8, negative 8, negative 1, 1. Okay? They all have an absolute value of their positive value. Example 2. Using absolute value to find magnitude. Okay? Alright, so we're given an example, and we're given a new word, and then we're asked to answer a question using that word, but we don't know what that word is. But then down here, we're given a definition. So let's focus on this first. Magnitude of a measurement is the absolute value of its measure. Okay, so magnitude is simply another way of saying absolute value. So it says Mrs. Owens received a call from her bank because she had a checkbook balance of negative $45. What was the magnitude of it? So the magnitude of measurement is the absolute value of its measure. So if I take the absolute value of the measure, which was negative $45, the absolute value is 45. So therefore the magnitude of negative $45 is $45. Okay, Mrs. Owens overdrew her checking account by $45. Exercise 4 through 19. For each scenario below, use absolute value to determine the magnitude of each quantity. And I will give you some time to do these, and then so pause the video, try them, come back and see how you did. Okay, so let's see how we did here. For each scenario below, use the absolute value to determine the magnitude of each quantity. Maria was sick with the flu, and her weight changed as a result of it. Is represented by negative 4 pounds. How much weight did Maria lose? So I'd say negative 4 absolute value, which is the magnitude of the situation, is 4 pounds. So you would say Maria lost 4 pounds. Jeffrey owes his friend $5. How much is Jeffrey's debt? So if owing is a negative 5, how much is his debt is the magnitude of negative 5, which is $5. So Jeffrey's debt is $5. Okay. The elevation of Niagara Falls, which is located between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario on the Niagara River, is 326 feet. Okay. The elevation is 326 feet. How far is this above sea level? So 326 above sea level is a positive 326. The absolute value or magnitude of 326 is 326 feet above sea level. Okay. How far below zero is negative 16 degrees Celsius? So the absolute value of negative 16 equals 16. So it is 16 degrees below zero. How far below zero? 16 degrees below zero. Okay, these are pretty simple. Yes, hopefully you find ease with this. Frank received a monthly statement for his college savings account. It listed a deposit of $100 as plus 100. It listed a withdrawal of $25 as negative 25. The statement showed an overall ending balance of $835.50. How much money did Frank add to his account that month? How much did he take out? What is the total amount Frank saved for college? So the first thing we want to do is answer the first question. How much money did Frank add to his account? Okay, he deposited $100. So you can say the absolute value of 100. Let me rewrite that. The absolute value of 100 equals 100. Okay, so he added $100 to his account. Then it says, how much did he take out? Well, he withdrew $25, which is negative 25. So if you say negative 25 and take the absolute value, we get 25. So Frank took $25 out of his account because the value in the absolutes was negative. Okay. And then finally it says the statement showed an overall ending balance of $835.50. Okay, so that's positive. So the absolute value of a positive is positive. Okay. So the total amount of Frank's savings for college is $835.50. Okay, number 9. Oh, it might help if I did it before I change pages. Number 9. Meg is playing a card game with her friend Iona. Cards have positive and negative numbers printed on them. Meg claims the absolute value of the number on my card equals 8. What is the number on Meg's card? Okay. She said the absolute value of the number on my card equals 8. So I could put negative 8. So that's true. But there's also a second answer. So she's not being totally clear with us because it could also be a positive 8. Okay. So she either has a negative 8 or an 8. 10. List a positive and negative number whose absolute value is greater than 3. Okay. Justify your answer. Well, let's see. A positive number and a negative number whose absolute value is greater than 3. So if I start with a number, say 5, take its absolute value. The absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of its negative, which is negative 5, is also positive. And that is greater than 3. 5 is greater than 3. So I could just say the absolute value of negative 5 equals 5. And the absolute value of negative 5 equals 5. 5 is greater than 3. On a number line, the distance from 0 to 5 is 5. And the distance from 0 to negative 5 is 5. Okay, so the absolute values of that number are, so I listed a positive and negative number whose absolute value is greater. I could have chosen any other number too. I could have said negative 4, negative 6, negative 7, so. Okay, 11. Which of the following situations can be represented by the absolute value of 10? Check out those. Which of the following situations can be represented? So the absolute value of 10 equals 10. The temperature is 10 degrees below 0. Express this as negative. Okay, that's not true because it's not negative 10. Determine the size of Harold's debt if he owes $10. Okay, that I can do. Because if he owes $10, determining the size of his debt is the magnitude, which is absolute value, so yes, I can do it. Determine how far negative 10 is from 0 on a number line. Okay. So the absolute value of 10 can be represented here. Determine how far negative 10 is from 0. That's the distance from 0, and it is equal to 10 as well, so I can use that. 10 degrees is how many degrees above 0. So we're all comparing these to, this is a distance from 0, this is a distance from 0, which is 10. and determine the size of Harold's debt if he owes $10. The only difference is the temperature is 10 degrees below zero. Explain this as an integer. That's not represented by absolute value. Okay, number 12. Julia used absolute value to find the distance between 0 and 6 on a number line. She then wrote a similar statement to represent the distance between 0 and -6 below this word. Is she correct? Explain. The absolute value equals 6, and the absolute value of -6 equals -6. Okay? So is she correct? The answer is no, because the absolute value of -6 equals a +6. Distance can never be negative, so if I had a number line, and I've got 0 here, and I have -6 here, the distance from here to here is 6. We never say distance is negative. 13. Use absolute value to represent the amount in dollars of a $238.25 profit. Profit's a positive number, so you say the absolute value of $238.25 equals $238.25. Judy lost 15 pounds. Use the absolute value to represent the number of pounds Judy lost. Okay, Judy lost 15 pounds. So, it's -15. Which is a distance. -15 is 15 units to the left of 0, so the absolute value of -15 is 15. In math class, Carl and Angela, I always say Carl that way because when you watch Walking Dead, that's how his father says his name. In math class, Carl and Angela are debating about integers and absolute value. Carl said 2 integers can have the same absolute value. And Angela said 1 integer can have 2 absolute values. Who's right? Find your answer. Okay. Okay, so Carl is right. An integer and its opposite are the same distance from 0. So they have the same absolute values because absolute value is the distance between the number and 0. Okay? And number 16. Jamie told his math teacher, give me an absolute value and I can tell you 2 numbers that have the same absolute value. Is Jamie correct? For any given absolute value, will there always be 2 numbers that have that absolute value? Okay, and the answer to this is no. Okay. Jamie is not correct because 0 is its own opposite. Trick question. So, if I take 0 and I take the absolute value of 0, it is 0. There is no such thing as -0. So, 0 only has one value that's equal. If you are at a location, your distance from that location is 0. You're there. It's not -0. Okay, that was a good one. Next question, 17. Use a number line to show why a number and its opposite have the same absolute value. So if I chose the point -5, and I chose the point 5, okay, and I want to show why a number and its opposite have the same absolute value, then I'd say, well, 5 is 5 units to the right of 0, and -5 is 5 units to the left of 0. So a number and its opposite are the same distance from 0, but on opposite sides. Right? 18. A bank teller assisted 2 customers in transactions. One customer made a $25 withdrawal. That's -25 from savings account. The other customer made a $15 deposit. That's positive. Use absolute value to show the size of each transaction. So the absolute value of -25 equals 25, and the absolute value of 15 equals 15. Okay, which transaction involved more money? So if we take the absolute value and look at the larger number, 25 is greater than 15, so therefore the withdrawal involved more money. 19. Which is farther from 0? Negative 7 3/4 or negative 7 1/2? Use absolute value to defend your answer. So if I take the absolute value of negative 7 3/4, that equals 7 3/4. If I take the absolute value of 7 1/2, that equals 7 1/2. Well, if I have $7.50 and I have $7 3/4, 75 cents, which is more money? Okay, the 7 3/4 is more than 7 1/2. So which is further from 0? Well, on the number line, if 0 is here, and 7 is here, and 8 is here, 7 1/2 is right here, and 7 3/4 is right here. So which is further from 0? 7 3/4. Okay? That's the end of lesson 11. Your problem set.